I'm fine.
So welcome everyone to today's session, day 2 of teaching aptitude. Today we'll be discussing methods of teaching, learning and learning environment, learner characteristics, and factors affecting teaching. So when it comes to methods of teaching, there are 3 methods: teacher-centric, mixed, and learner-centric. Teacher-centric methods are where the content delivery is done by teacher, the control is in the hands of the teacher, and this is best for large classrooms where the audience, the number of students or the number of people is huge. Like here, we have almost 70 plus students in the session right now. So with 70 plus participants, one-to-one discussion is not possible. So this is more of a teacher-centered content delivery right now. Mixed would be where there is collaboration and interaction between teachers and learners. So if I give you breakout rooms right now, then that would be one way. Also, when I say that, okay, now it's time for question and answers, you can ask me whatever doubts you have. So then shared teaching is happening. And this is best for skill building, especially when you're learning a skill, not for theory, but when you are actually learning a skill for application. And learner-centered is student-driven exploration and autonomy. So like the control is in the hand of the learner and it is personalized learning. So the teacher says that now you do it in groups and the students are discussing, doing things on their own. And the role of a teacher is very little, probably a facilitator or a guide, nothing more than that. So these are learner-centric methods of teaching. So I remember when I was doing my master's in ELT, I read a research paper where there was a comparison that like in India, we have classrooms in school, at least nowadays, it's not beyond 30 or 40. Like in my time, it used to be 60 or 70 students. In colleges, we do have a lot of students. So there was a paper where in Turkey or a country somewhere in the Southwest Asia, it was that there are 200 students in the classroom, and the teacher writes on the board, and sometimes the students on the back they are not even able to see what's happening in the board. They copy from each other. It's a government school, but then that's the only mode of education for a lot of people who cannot afford to go to private institutions. So comparing that with a classroom in America where there are 20 students and there are 2 teachers and it's 10 students per teacher, and the learning is done activity based where you have toys where small papers are cut into different pieces, and then those things are prepared by the teacher, and using those objects things are taught. So there was a comparison between the two. Obviously the second method is always better and more effective when it comes to teaching, but then what needs to be considered are all the other factors as well. So that is why when you know these factors and the advantages and disadvantages of each of these methods, so when the application questions are asked based on it, then it will be useful to you. Okay. I'm opening the chat box, so if anyone has any questions anytime, please type there. So teacher-centered methods for large groups. The most obvious is lecture, quick content delivery, and it is cost effective. Passive learning, low engagement. Teaching theory in large classes. So that is again a lecture kind of thing where I am speaking, and everyone's listening passively, actively, depending on their own internal motivation. Seminar. Experts come, give a lecture for 1 hour, one-way communication. TV video presentation. Here, so there's a screen and you don't even have sometimes the possibility of putting a comment. No personal interaction. Educational videos in classroom. Dialogic teaching, structured question and answer. The Socratic way of teaching may still be teacher dominated, because then it's still the teacher who's leading the students towards a certain direction. And direct teaching, step-by-step clarity. It doesn't develop critical thinking, but like the teacher is teaching, the students are imitating, and the teaching grammar rules directly. So you take the table of tenses, and then you just say, okay, then there are 12 tenses. This is how the table is. These are the different verb forms in each of the tense. Is, are, was, were. So that is direct teaching. So these are 5 teacher-centric methods which are used when the group is large. Please pay attention, everyone, because like if I start explaining everything again, then we might not be able to complete it. Disha, which point did you want me to explain again? Learner-centric. We will come to learner-centric methods and you will probably know it better. Mixed, where the group is small and the teacher is involved, but then there's also the learners are also learning something on their own. Like group discussion, promotes interaction, multiple perspectives. It may go off topic, like you are standing there in the class, you divide the class into 2 or 3 groups and say, now have a discussion. Dominant students would not allow other students to speak. That could happen. Like, let's say if I have a class of 60 and I divide them into 2 teams of 30 and 30. Then out of those 30, not everyone is going to get a chance to learn or speak. Probably 5 in each group at the most would be able to speak. Others would be just listening. So these are its limitations. For example, debating pros and cons of technology or any thing, debating pros and cons. Team teaching. So you are teaching a team. There are diverse perspectives. Everyone is giving their own input, but then it requires planning. When you have a group of 20 students, like let's say there's a teacher training and of 20 teachers, and the trainer has to plan very well, otherwise there will not be involvement of all the participants. 2 teachers co-teaching a unit. So the load is shared, but at the same time, it does have its own disadvantages. So you, like when I was working in the university, we used to have, one team teaching example that I could give is in this session, I'll be taking few topics, Shriya ma'am will be taking few topics, and Agast Muni sir would be taking few topics. So all of us are teaching the same thing, but then we have divided the loads. And we have planned the sessions on which day who is going to take what topic. That is team teaching. Panel discussion, 5 people on a panel, deep exploration, varied views, but the audience may just listen to them. Oh wow, a lot of bulb-on moments, but there's no interaction. You might forget that once you walk out of the place. Experts discussing climate change. Okay, that's panel discussion. Brainstorming. It stimulates creativity, but the ideas may lack depth. So if you ask a group of people to brainstorm, it's not essential that everyone participates. So there's a limitation, and whatever you learn may not be that much effective. Students generating uses of AI. Other small group methods are project work, practical skills, collaboration, but a project is a time consuming effort. Like it doesn't get completed in one day. You have an entire semester to complete your project for final year. So science fair projects, and nowadays though all the projects are done by parents, asking a 5-year-old to prepare a science project. How is that little child going to do it? It's the mother or then the father who make the project, right? So there, what's the student going to learn? But in colleges, yes. And once the student reaches a certain age. So see, age appropriateness is also very important, which we will talk about when it comes to learner skills. That what's the age of the student and what you are making them do. Tutorials. Personalized attention is there, but it's not scalable. Like if you scale it to a large number of people, then the personalized attention goes away. So someone taking tuition classes in the society, I'm not talking about the ones where you have 100, 200 people in the 12th standard. There are 3 teachers in the city for physics, and the entire 12th standard is divided into these 3 teachers. Now, it's not possible for them to take a batch of 20 students. But then there are other teachers who will take smaller batches. One-on-one remedial sessions, like after the exam, when the teacher says that, okay, there's 4 or 5 people who have not scored well, they'll stay back and do extra work and I'll help them out. Case study, real world application may lack generalizability, like business ethics case is being discussed. So it does involve the learners. It's not that the teacher is teaching everything, but then it may not be a learning for everyone who's involved. 3 more ways: mixed strategy, small group methods. There are actually total of 10. Okay. Group discussion, team teaching, panel discussion, brainstorming, project work, tutorials, case study, role play, simulation, and demonstration. So role play is where empathy and interpersonal skills are used. You ask students to prepare a skit on something. It may cause discomfort for students who are not, who are introverts, or probably who are not ready to go walk up on the stage and speak in front of the class. That used to happen a lot with me in role play sessions, where, because I used to teach English and soft skills, so there used to be a session where everyone had to come and say something, perform something. So there were students who used to be very shy, because, or rather afraid or nervous, because they didn't know English and they didn't know how would others react. So it would take me an entire half an hour to coax that person to come on the stage and say their name and their give basic introduction in 4 sentences. I was like, okay, chhod do, just tell your basic introduction. And it would take the entire class, or not the class, but the batch of 15-20 students, because these were practicals, to coax that person to come on stage. So mock customer service scenario. This could be uncomfortable for someone, but then it's still group learning. So mixed strategy. Simulation. Simulation is where something in real life is copied and you do a practice. Like a pilot would fly the plane in a simulated environment, or astronauts are trained in simulated environment before they are actually sent to space. So the cost setup is high. Like, see, the example is flight simulator training. Demonstration is where in what we call practicals, where the teacher shows how things are done and then the students copy. So when it is shown, not just spoken, that first you do this, then you do this. Instead, first that is done, the second step is performed, the learning is better. Like lab experiments shown step by step. So these are mixed strategies. Now, for the person who was asking, learner-centered strategies. Learner-centered strategies are where the learner is the main hero. Like one-to-one tutorials are given, personal coaching. The teacher has to work a lot. That is the limitation, because there's one student, you are there very intensely, one or two students teaching them. Coaching slow learners is a learner-centered strategy. Like if right now in 2 hours we are talking about a lot of things, but if I had to take a group of 5 people and teach them everything, it would probably take me more time. There would be more questions, more discussion. We could even digress somewhere in between. Assignments is independent work. Students have to do it on their own, so their learning happens. The limitation is they may be copied from each other. Nowadays, AI writes assignments. So weekly research assignment is an example of it. Project work, where the teacher is not involved, the students are doing it on their own. But it needs close monitoring. Otherwise, all the emotional problems that crop up can kill the project. So the problems start with two groups want to do the same project. He has stolen my idea. It starts from there. Two people are working in the group and 2 people are not. So all these kinds of problems are there. Also, when students are attempting to learn something new, the guidance of the teacher is essential. So it builds research and creativity, but it also needs close monitoring from the teacher's end. Although the learning that happens in project work is a lot. Case study, where decision-making skills are improved, because when a situation is given and you have to decide how to solve the problem, so then obviously time-bound application. So like, let's say a startup has failed. Case studies are mostly done in MBAs. Why? Because at that level, you can take critical decisions, evaluate, create. These are the higher level cognitive functions that can be applied in those situations. So there's a startup which failed due to, if this was the situation, so why did it fail? What could have done to not fail? And now what should be the next steps? So that way. 6 more strategies. Programmed instruction, self-paced, like I share a PDF and you learn from it, but it can be monotonous. So printed learning modules, you can do it in your own free time, but then it would not be as interactive. Like see, we'll see that learning happens auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. So visual is when you see, so that happens, but then auditory, when the teacher speaks, then it becomes easier, like because you are looking at it and you are listening to it, the recall or the short-term memory to long-term memory transfer process becomes a bit easier. And kinesthetic, when you actually perform it or when you actually do it, like if you have been a teacher for some time or certain years, when I am discussing these things, you are probably relating it to your experiences. Then this becomes in an even stronger then this goes very strongly in your brain. You are able to recall it more easily when it comes to applying in exams. Computer assisted learning, also called CAL, C-A-L, interactive multimedia, but it is dependent on technology. So like today, right now, the rain has stopped, but if there's a power cut, then we would all become dependent on technology. My Wi-Fi would go away and all of you would be worried कि madam कहाँ चली गई. So typing practice software. Have you done the typing? Have you practiced typing tutor? Where first you have to practice certain letters. Then once that is done, you have to practice statements, then entire paragraphs. And this is done to increase your typing speed. So that is one such product. computer assisted learning. Interactive video, visual plus interactive. So this is not an interactive video, okay? It's a recorded video or a video where, do I say it? Where you have to click on something that now this is the answer, choose the option, and the video tells you whether your option is correct or wrong. So visual plus interactive, like in schools, in iPad labs, where in my daughter's school, they have these sessions where they trace the letters on the screen of the iPad. So they have this softwares, educational softwares, where if you trace it correctly, the line becomes green and there's a burst of stars, or you get cookies. And if you have not traced it correctly, it will show a red line and it will show you where it was wrong, and then you have to trace it again. So these are interactive videos, online history quizzes. That's what I said. Like you have to select an option and then it shows you green or red whether your answer is correct or wrong. Limited customization. Now, because this is something that is recorded and would go out for everyone, it cannot be customized for the learner. Last slide in this topic, open learning. So online MOOCs, which are available to everyone, it may need self-discipline because now you have to learn at your own pace. If you drop it, you drop it. Coursera courses. I have enrolled in so many Coursera courses, and I have completed only 2 till date. Like in all these years, I have completed only 2 because somehow after 1 or 2 weeks, that pace goes up. You also might have experienced that when you enroll to a recorded course, the chances of completing it are very low. Personalized system of instruction, mastery learning, it is paced level by level, but the initial setup is required. And mastery based online modules, like you master level 1, then level 2, then level 3. And heuristic method, discovery learning, promotes discovery and inquiry, may confuse beginners because they wouldn't know what to discover till they actually discover. And students derive formulas themselves, like you see the sums, you see the relations, and then you make formulas on your own. Heuristic method is discovery learning. So these are teacher-centric, mixed, and learner-centric strategies for teaching or methods of teaching. A lot of questions have been asked from this topic. We can discuss them. We are giving answers in real time, so it can't be interactive. Not here. When you have, there are pages online, Kumudini ji, I'm answering you, where the question is asked, and then when you select the option, it will give you, it will show you a box whether your answer is correct or not. So that's an interactive kind of thing. Okay.
And here also they are giving the answers in real time, so it can also be considered as interactive or not.
Yes, but I am not a recorded program or a recorded web page. Okay, I like when you are asking me question, I am giving you a customized answer. I am talking about those web pages or programs that are pre-recorded or they are made, and now you just have to interact with it. Softwares kind of things.
Okay.
Okay, so let's solve some previous year questions. So which of the following is the best method of teaching? This question has actually been asked. Lecture, discussion, demonstration, narration. C. B.
Is it demonstration?
Yeah, please let everyone answer. C and B.
Thank you.
Yeah, so demonstration is the best method out of all because it ensures greater understanding of complex skills and students grasp faster. In the context of classroom teaching, the foundation on which a warm and nurturing relationship with learners can be built is called probing, teacher effect, structuring, feedback. So as I said, whenever it comes to emotions and relationships, if
Teacher
there's
effect,
only
right?
one place where, please answer in the chat box, sir, so that everyone can answer. Where there's affect, I also told that when we were revising, right? So whenever there is affect or affective, it is related to emotions. So when we say probing, it is more like asking questions, inquiring. So that wouldn't build a warm and nurturing relationship. Feedback can also be sometimes, like that. It can be positive, it can be negative. Next question. Which of the following teaching methods are contributive to direct learning? Where the teacher is directly teaching and you are learning isn't. Yeah, feedback isn't, as it could be negative. So you have 6 options. Team teaching. I'll just make the slide a bit bigger. Team teaching and lecturing, simulation and role playing, lecture with or without use of audio visuals, participation in workshop and assignments, MOOCs and heuristics, and interactive presentations. So which of this would be direct learning?
First,
Please write your answers in the chat box, sir.
yeah.
Oh, someone with an A, B, D, lot of B's. So the answer is A. So that what is direct learning? Gaining the knowledge straight from the source. It's not that you are reflecting on it and thinking on it, but you are actually directly gaining the knowledge from the source without any mediation or intervention. So this is possible through practical approaches that provide hands-on experience. That is direct learning. Okay. So you learn the theory and then when you apply it, that is not direct learning. When you do it directly, simulation and role playing, participation in workshop and assignments. So basically learner-centric methods, MOOCs and heuristics. So these are direct learning. Okay. Okay. From the list given below, identify those teaching methods which have a great scope for dialogic discourse, where a dialogue is possible, where there is a bigger scope to have dialogue. In which 3 of them? Lecture with audio visual aids, team teaching, tutorials, problem solving, chalk and talk, group discussions. Okay. See. Okay, let's see the answer. The answer is B. Why? So see, when you're talking about dialogue, so teaching when the the teacher is teaching, it is mostly a monologue. Like I'm talking most of the time in this session. Okay, lectures, recitation, completion of textbook or workbook activities. So this is not where dialogic discourse happens. Where there is conversation and comparison and creation of ideas, there it is dialogic discourse. So self-paced instructional program, problem solving, where you are discovering what could happen, and group discussion is itself a play. Like, a lot of discussion happens, a lot of ideas are put forth, systematic exchange of information. So these are the places where dialogic discourse could happen more, and that's why 3, 4, and 6 tutorials, problem solving methods, and group discussions are where there could be more scope for dialogic discourse. Chalk and talk, the teacher writes on the board. Team teaching is again 2 teachers, 3 teachers teaching. Lecture with audio visual aids is again more of a teacher teaching the class. Okay. So these are the kind of questions that are asked from methods of teaching, and a lot of questions are asked. D and B are same. Okay. That's a possibility. Three, 4, 6, 4, 3, 6. Okay, so they are same because in the question paper, those options were same when the question paper was given by UGC NET. Okay, so that's how they trick you. But then B is the answer, right? So then probably I have made a mistake in copying the option. Okay. The point is your answer is those 3 things. Tutorials, group discussions, and one more, which was it? Problem solving methods. I'll check 3, 4, and 6. Let's make this 3, 4, 3, and 2, just to avoid any kind of confusion. I have very, very attentive learners. Thank you. Oh, the question is over, sir. Next, we go to learning, which is very, very important concept, because at teachers, what we are supposed to do is make the students learn, right? So there's going to be a lot of different concepts, and all these concepts, when you know them, you can solve the application questions which are asked in UGC NET paper. So it's not like they directly ask learning questions. They do, but then some knowledge of Bloom's taxonomy, some knowledge of methods of teaching, some knowledge of MLT, ULT, RLT, some knowledge of characteristics of learners. All of this combined is asked in a lot of questions. So you have to apply things overall, okay? So it's not that just because we don't have a lot of direct questions, the concept is not important. And the learning theories that we discussed yesterday first, these are also a part of the learning only. Okay. So what is learning? According to Gates, it is the modification of behavior through experience. Skinner says that it is a process of progressive behavior adaptation, because you stimulus and response, you keep on learning, so your behavior adapts. And Crow and Crow, learning involves acquisition of habits, knowledge, and attitude. Okay. There are a lot of definitions of teaching also, like if you see the resource that I have shared, you need to remember some concepts and definitions which are taught by, which have been given by researchers, but like I thought that it is something which requires rote memorization, so I didn't take it as a part of the session. Sometimes questions are asked where they say that who gave this definition, or what was, there's this question that what was the view of Swami Vivekananda over teaching. So all of that you will find in the PDFs that I have shared. So learning principles, there are 12 principles of learning. This is not given by someone, but you just need to understand that learning happens based on these principles. These are psychological guidelines that enhance effective teaching and helps learners retain, apply, and transfer knowledge. So principle of association, that is when new knowledge connects with prior knowledge, the retention happens better. So teaching algebra by connecting it with arithmetic operations that learners already know. You already know addition, subtraction, multiplication. Now you add x, y, z to it. So let's say, suppose this is x, and then you multiply and divide and add to find out answers that way. Principle of clarity. Learners must understand what they are learning and why they are learning. So you know your why, right? You are here because you want to clear your UGC NET with a great score. And why are you learning this topic is what I explained to you in the beginning, right? And now the concept should be clear, concise, and contextually explained, that in this context, when you know the theory, it will help you solve the questions of application in the exam. That way. So this is principle of clarity. Make it clear to the learners how it will be helpful to them and why they are learning it, what they are learning and why they are learning. Use of diagrams and real life analogies to clarify difficult science concepts. Like I tried to give you examples to for this different teaching methods that way, so that it becomes more clear. Principle of self-activity. So students actively participate in the process, because if you are just passively listening, then you might not be able to recall it better. But if you are actively involved, if you are looking at the slide and reading along with me, then that's the best thing that I could do here. But in classrooms, we do have a bigger scope for self-activity, like hands-on lab experiments. Principle of rewards. So when you score well, you get a reward. The first, second, third rankers get rewards. You get trophies for winning competitions, that way. So encourages repetition of desirable behavior. They can be intrinsic. You get the satisfaction or happiness of completing your PhD, and extrinsic, you get an increment in your salary, and of course you get to add the DR to your name. Extrinsic, grades, praise. So principle of rewards, giving a student positive feedback for creative problem solving. So when you give them positive feedback, when you encourage them, they will do more of desirable behavior. Practice, very important, because if you don't practice, repetition and reinforcement, if it's not done, then gradually you will forget and you will not become an expert in it. So that is again an important learning principle, like regular grammar exercises in language learning. Principle of nurturing environment. So the learning environment has to be safe. If I start ridiculing you for giving wrong answers, that only 5 people gave the right answer, 5 people gave the wrong answer, you would not write anything in the chat box. So a supportive and emotionally safe environment fosters better learning. Learners must feel respected, encouraged, and free from ridicule. Okay. So most of us know this, but then subconsciously, sometimes we don't do it. I've seen a few professors who belittle adult students in colleges, and these are not the favorite teachers of the students. Okay, you are very good in your concepts, very strong in your knowledge, but you don't form an emotional bond with students. And only those who form emotional bond with students are the one who form emotional bond with colleagues and superiors, because that's their nature. And these people progress very easily in their career also. Okay. So very important for your own personal growth as well. Encouraging quiet students without forcing them. And when you do this, your feedback which goes to academic directors is very good. Okay, so if you are not someone who does this, please do it for the sake of your own career growth. And indirectly, it will help the learners learn well. Principle of variable learning ability. Learners learn in different pace styles. Everyone has different way of learning, different speed of learning. Someone learns it when they read it once. Someone needs to repeatedly watch it or listen to it 3 to 4 times. and then they are finally able to understand. Everyone has a different pace. Everyone has a different way that which we will learn later on. So instruction should be differentiated to meet individual needs. Sometimes in multilingual classrooms, you teach only in English, and then there are students from vernacular medium who are not able to understand. And if you don't speak in English, then there are students from outside India who have no idea how Hindi is, or who are probably from non-Hindi speaking states who don't understand it. What do you do with that class? You have to devise a strategy that everyone's requirements are met using visual, auditory, and kinesthetic methods in one lesson. So see, some people are visual, they see and remember easily. Some people are auditory, they listen and remember easily, and some people are kinesthetic. They have to touch, feel, do, so that things are easily understood by them. Principle of multiple exposure. Concepts need to be introduced in various forms and contexts. Revision, reteaching, real world application. So then it enhances memory. So the same maths concept 3 is taught through games, and then problems, and then real life scenarios. Like if you remember in like when you used to solve math problems, it was like the ladder needs to be put down at what angle so that it forms a right angle. Those kind of questions. Principle of learning capacity. The mental and physical development of the learner determines what and how much they can learn. So that is why we have the set curriculum in school, right? That most 5-year-olds are able to cope up with this much. And then there are parents who want their 4-year-olds to go into classrooms which are meant for 5-year-olds, and then they feel that my child is not able to cope up. Why? Because your child's cognitive development has not happened according to whatever burden they are putting in that curriculum. Okay, expecting abstract reasoning from a 7-year-old may not be developmentally appropriate. And if you are just trying to make them understand, it's great. But if that 7-year-old is forced to do something which they are not capable yet, they might, it might backfire, and they might stop answering us or start hating school or learning. That could happen. Principle of active process. It is not passive reception, but active construction of knowledge. It's not कि आप सुनते रहो and it happens. No, you have to be actively, mentally engaged in it. You have to think over it. Like asking students to summarize a topic in their own words. Theory and practice. When theoretical understanding is there, but it is applied practically, that is when it becomes deeper.
Ma'am, please show the previous slide.
Ma'am, I would request everyone here, please write in the chat box, because when you speak in the middle of a session, it breaks the flow, right? All of us are teachers here. You would know. Principle of active process. So theory and practice, theoretical understanding, and then practical context. Principle of effective communication. Good teaching involves clear, structured, and feedback-rich communication. So verbal and non-verbal cues both matter. Using storytelling, you tell a story to make the concept clear in the minds of the learners. Examples, body language, regular check-ins that, okay, so like once I finish a topic, I will like, okay, let me see in the chat box, has someone put something? That way. Communication with the learners helps. So these 11 missed, yeah, I'll just give me a moment, I'll go back. All slides for 5 seconds. Okay. So this is where you can take a look at everything in one go. This is a screenshot that you should have actually. Ninth is learning capacity. You get in this one screenshot, you will get all the, see this 12 points, no one is going to ask you what are the 12 principles, but these are the things that impact learners. Okay. For someone who wanted Meenakshi ma'am. Yeah. Let's move on to the next topic, that is types of learning. So UNESCO in 1984 classified learning into three types: formal, non-formal, and informal. Formal is what happens in our schools, colleges. There's curriculum, there's structure, learning objectives. It is institution based. It follows a curriculum and you get a certificate at the end of it. Non-formal is something that is outside the schools and colleges. So it is skill based, like workshops, vocational trainings, something that you are doing right now. It's a course, but then it's not exactly going to, be a degree that you will write in your resume or CV. Informal learning is something that you learn from life. Here and there, talking to people. It's not a structured course or curriculum that you follow, but it's experience-based learning. It's a lifelong learning. So learning from family, media, daily experiences, that is informal learning. Formal, non-formal, and informal. These are the three types of learnings which UNESCO has classified in 1984. Now, 9 methods of learning. You will find a bit of overlap with what we have done yesterday. Imitation, copying others' actions or behaviors that a child mimics parents, teachers. Observation, learning by watching others, like watching a peer solve a math problem and then you solve it. Experience, learning through doing and facing outcomes, like you learning to cook by trying recipes. Okay. Teaching, learning from someone who's more knowledgeable. A teacher explains something and then you learn it. So these are methods from a learner's point of view. Instruction, structured guidance with objectives that like when we go in a flight, the air hostess gives us instruction that this is how you should put a seat belt. In case of turbulence, you should put your seat belt. This is how you remove your oxygen mask. This is how exits have been marked. Attending a training session. Trial and error. You make mistakes, you correct them, like learning a bicycle, learning to drive a two-wheeler. That's trial and error learning. Reflection. You sit and think over something that you have done, something that has happened. Analyzing past actions or outcomes. Like a classroom presentation is complete and then you journal something about it. So that is reflection. Experimentation. Testing new ideas to learn cause and effect. So trial and error is when you do something, you correct. Experimentation is when you are trying out a completely new idea, which at least in your knowledge, no one has tried before. Science lab experiments. And self-learning, independent learning using various resources. Like you watch YouTube and then you learn how to edit videos or how to create Instagram carousels. That is self-learning. So 9 methods of learning: imitation, observation, experience, teaching, instruction, trial and error, reflection, experimentation, and self-learning. Okay. So these are the 9 methods by which learning happens. Clear? So next, what are the characteristics of a motivated classroom? So a classroom where students are motivated to learn, what are the characteristics of that classroom? So basically, what does the teacher need to do to ensure that learners are motivated in the classroom? The characteristics of the classroom are: first, belongingness. Students feel emotionally and socially connected with each other, with the teacher, with the classroom, with the institution. Meaningfulness. Belongingness is like, we have pride in our alma mater, like this is my college, this is my school. That is a sense of belongingness. Or this is my class, this is my division. Meaningfulness is when whatever you are learning is relevant to your personal goals and interests. It is going to help you achieve a goal. That is, help you achieve the goal of completing your 12th standard, uh, complete your learning process, and then go to college. Competence. Students feel capable of succeeding. Whatever is being taught is at a level where the students feel कि हाँ कर लेंगे, हो जाएगा. Only then they will be motivated to learn. If they feel that this is beyond my capability, they are not going to do it. If you felt that clearing UGC NET Paper 1 is something that is beyond your capability, you wouldn't have enrolled for this course only. Because you have hope and faith that, yes, I can do it, only with that motivation you can be present here, because there are some people who are not present right now. Due to personal reasons, yes, but probably lack of motivation. One of the factors for lack of motivation is when you are not sure if you can do it or not. Accountability, clear goals. You have 3 semester exams. This is your syllabus. There's many chapters you need to complete. There's feedback and ownership of learning. Your scores are your scores. Your textbook is your textbook. Your curriculum is your curriculum. And this is mine. When you have that accountability, that also contributes to motivation to learn. And last is autonomy, freedom to choose, explore, and express learning styles. Okay, that is autonomy. Autonomous word itself is mostly related with freedom to do something. So these are the 5 characteristics of a motivated classroom. Now we have 2 slides of 7 learner characteristics. Okay, what are the characteristics of a learner? Now this is mostly related to it's general and more related to children, because for adolescents and adults specific we will continue later on. So what are the characteristics of a learner? A learner is purposeful. They have goals and objectives. Now see, this is a repetition. Okay. Once you know those 12 principles of learning, everything that you learn is somehow going to interconnect with those principles. Active, it requires learner participation, individual and social, involves both personal reflection and social interaction, and cumulative. New learning builds on prior knowledge. I've lost the count of how many times new learning builds on prior knowledge concept has been discussed. So that makes you realize it's a very important concept, that new learning builds on prior knowledge. Multifaceted, includes cognitive, brain, emotional, and psychomotor, your hands, legs, body movement components. Self-directed, as age increases, as the complexity increases, learners are increasingly autonomous. In KG, you are very dependent on teacher. In primary, a little bit lesser. As you go to secondary, higher secondary, you don't have schools anymore. You just put your name and that school is affiliated with the tuition classes, and you don't have to go to tuition class, to schools. Now only the tuition class teacher is teaching you. And then you memorize it and give exams. And all of a sudden you come to college where no one is teaching anything and you get confused. So self-directed, and gradually learning develops over time. It does not happen in one day. It does not happen instantly. So today I taught this, or today we discussed this here. I wouldn't say taught, because uh, you might be preparing it for the umpteenth time and have just come here for revision, or these are the things that as a teacher you already know based on your experience. It's just that I am pointing it out so that when you have to solve questions, you can get this. If you are aware of these terms and these words, it will help you out. So preferring the term discussion, we discussed it here. Tomorrow, if someone asks you, would you be able to say everything? No, right? It happens when you revise it 2 times. Okay, so these are learner characteristics: purposeful, active, individual and social, cumulative, multifaceted, self-directed, and gradual. Basic conditions of learning. Now, this is again few conditions which are required for learning. Please also give us some hacks as to how to remember so many types and subpoints. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to remember this. You need to understand this, because no one is going to ask you what are the 5 conditions of learning. No. They will ask you questions based on application of what you know about learning, what you know about teaching, and how can you make teaching and learning more effective in the classroom. Okay, so there's a lot of overlap happening. We need to remember the names along with respective meaning. No, Charmi, it's not like this theory has been given by someone. It's a book that has, I refer KVS Madan because a lot of people who have cleared the exam, they say that it's one of the best books to refer to. So here you have 12 principles of teaching, 12 principles of learning, 12 principles of 9 principles of this, but it's not a theory given by any researcher or scientist. You need to understand those principles, because when a question is asked that in a classroom this is happening, how would you work on it? Or how can you make learning more effective? Or how can you make this teaching more effective? When you know these concepts, you will be able to apply them and answer that question in the MCQ. Okay, no one directly this is not school level. Which book? I have shared it already with you, actually, if you would have downloaded the PDFs. Okay, I have shared the PDF with you, the 2 PDFs that I shared in the beginning. If you have not, I will download it. I'll share the links again at the end of the session. And after 15 minutes, I'll be removing those PDFs. Okay. So don't worry about memorizing this. Okay. This is not supposed to be memorized. It is supposed to be understood. We don't have school questions, 10 marks. What are the basic conditions of learning? And you name them 5. No. We have application-based questions. Yeah, you need to remember name of scientists who have given theories, and where there is a specific theory, or like Gagne's 8 levels, because he has given those 8 levels. These principles are not given by someone. If they are given by someone, I'll mention it. Okay. And a lot of times, if you have experience as teacher, using your common sense also, you will be able to answer the questions. Okay. Common sense of a teacher, which you have developed based on your experience of teaching. Not the common sense, but based on whatever you have learned from your experience as a teacher. That, oh yeah, this could be the best thing possible. So basic conditions of learning. Contiguity, that is stimulus and response. See, we are not doing this for the first time. Yesterday also we had a learning theory for Skinner-Pavlov stimulus response. Gagne also talked about it, 2nd level SR learning. And now again we are talking about it. That when you hear the word triangle and you see that word triangle in your mind, that's when learning happens. So pair concepts closely in time for better memory formation. So see, I have taken all concepts related to learning together. Now, if I teach methods of teaching, and then I teach basic conditions of learning, and then I teach Gagne's learning theory, then I go back to factors affecting teaching, and then I teach you about MOOC, and then I teach you again about something else, and after 2 topics comes Swayam and Swayam Prabha, it would all be khichdi. So don't do that. Stimulus and response should be there. Practice is important. We already discussed the concept of practice at least 2 times today. Repeating behavior or mental processes strengthens learning. Okay. Next, reinforcement, positive and negative consequences, positive reward, negative reward, punishment. See, this is completely Skinner's theory. Reinforcement. When you see the word reward, reinforcement, it is the behavior reinforcement theory experiments done by Skinner and Pavlov, especially Skinner. Positive is reward, negative is removal of unpleasant task, and punishment is discouragement. Negative reward is when you tell the student that, okay, now you don't have to do homework today because you have given the correct answer. That is negative, removal of unpleasant task. Punishment is when you say, okay, now raise your hands on the bench. No, corporal punishments are no longer legal in India, at least on paper. But when you tell them probably to write the assignment 2 times, then that's punishment. Feedback. Again, see, if you see the concepts are being repeated. So feedback is again very important for learning. You did well on this, but try to explain your answer better, or this was a really great explanation. Timely, specific, and constructive. This kind of feedback is important. You give it immediately. It should be very specific to the question or the activity so that the student can understand things. You can't be vague about it. And constructive. Okay. Not something that demeans or disrespects them. Generalization, applying learned knowledge to new but similar situations. Like you learn how to write an essay, and then you also learn how to write a report, and you know that both of them start with introduction and conclusion, and there's a little change in how the body is there, but still it's introduction, body, and conclusion. Okay. A letter and an email are same but different. Like the format is same, but how you write the address there, here you don't need to write the address or the date. You just need to mention like dear and the name of the person and sign thanks and regards. Nowadays, so people have even stopped writing their name because they say, "Hamare email ID se to jata hai." So that way. Design activities that encourage transfer of learning of whatever concepts from this to the next topic. Next is discrimination. Distinguishing between similar stimuli to make accurate responses. Like you explain them, what's the difference between simile and metaphor? That simile is when the word like is used, that this looks like the sun. And metaphor is when you say, this is the sun, but it is not the sun shining in the sky. It is yellow, but it is not the sun. But you say this is the sun, it's a metaphor. And when you say this looks like the sun, then using the word like is simile. So I'm explaining the difference between the two. That is discrimination. So teaching through compare and contrast, the tables which I put where, we distinguish between pedagogy and andragogy and heutagogy, that is discrimination. So these are 6 conditions of learning. I'll just go through them again. Quick recap. Contiguity, stimulus and response occurs together. Practice again and again to strengthen the learning. Reinforcement, positive reward, negative reward, punishment. Feedback, timely, specific, constructive feedback. Generalization, where learning from one thing can be transferred to another. Discrimination, distinguishing between different things. These are the 6 basic conditions of learning. Okay. So basically, these are the very important concepts. Now, if questions are asked related to, questions would not be about basic conditions of learning, but they would be about classroom conditions or teaching strategies, and they give you a hypothetical scenario and say that which is the best thing to do. Then you know that these things are important for learning. So either which is the best thing to do would be one of these, or what not to do would be something that is not included in this. Okay. That is the importance of learning this. Next is a classification given by Singh and Sharma in 1987, learners' response to learning. Okay, like when students react in the classroom, what does the teacher do? So what should the teacher do when you are teaching something? Students give reaction. Now you have to react to their reaction, to whatever the student has said or done. So what are your responses? Prompting. Number 1, helping students when there is no response or silence. Okay. Helping students when there is no response or silence. That, okay, if let's say I ask a question and there's no one answering, then I give a hint. That's prompting. Okay. Like, can someone start the answer? Think about what we just discussed. Giving a hint to break hesitation or mental block. Redirection. If one student is not able to answer, then you redirect the question to the another student. That, okay, you tell me. Let's hear what Riya thinks about this. So it keeps the class engaged and avoids embarrassment of the first student who was not able to answer. Seeking further information. Asking follow-up questions to deepen understanding. Like, okay, yeah, you say the definition. So can you give an example or can you explain more about it? Seeking further information encourages clarity and critical thinking. And you also get to know if the student has understood the point correctly or not. That's clarity. Refocusing, bringing a distracted learner back to the topic. Like, let's come back to our original question about the causes of pollution. So manages classroom attention effectively. So you probably the discussion has gone off topic and students have suddenly started discussing about something that happened in the recess or about something regarding the industrial visit. And now we are like, okay, come back to our theory. And the last is increasing critical awareness, challenging students to think beyond surface level answers. Like, what are the consequences of this decision? Can you think of any alternatives? Now you are asking them at the evaluation and after you are asking them to reflect. You are asking them to evaluate. You are asking them to create something new. You are asking them to think of alternative responses. Promotes analysis and evaluation. Learners' response to learning. Singh and Sharma, 1987. 5 ways teachers can respond to students. You ask them a question and they respond or they do not respond. How do you respond to that? Prompt them, help them to answer, give them a hint. Redirection. If the student is not able to answer, you ask someone else. Seeking further information. If they have given an answer, you ask further questions, follow-up questions to seek more information. Refocusing. When the discussion or the learners are distracted, you bring them back to the topic. And ask questions which increase critical awareness. Before we move to the next topic, so far so clear. The concepts are not difficult to understand. It's just that you must be doing it in your classrooms already. We do prompt students, we do redirect questions, but we never think of it in a structured way. That, okay, these are the ways we can talk to students. That you ask, how many times have we asked follow-up questions? We do. We ask them those critical questions. Acha chalo, abhi kuch naya soch ke dikhao. But putting it in a format as someone has done it in 1987. Okay. So some quick responses from everyone if all of you are present here. Clear so far? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we have to cover learning environment, adolescent learners and adult learners. I don't think factors affecting teaching can be covered today, so we'll cover that tomorrow. Okay, learners is very important. Learning environment. So 4 kinds of environments are important for learning: physical, the classroom, psychological, the mind, social, the interactions and connections between people and the teacher and the student, and motivation, how much motivated the learner is. And last is understanding individual differences. Okay, it is not learning environment, but it's like everyone has a different pace, age, not just age, but when it comes to grasping and learning, everyone has a different way to learn, everyone has a different speed to learn. So considering that, we should create our curriculums or we should teach. Physical environment, classrooms, air quality, temperature, noise, there's noise from outside coming, the entire class would be distracted. If the light is blinking or if there's darkness, students are not able to take notes. If there's no fan, that's air quality. If it's, we have hot summers in India. So if the fan's not working, there's no electricity, the attention of students would be very less as compared to if the fans were working. Flexible layout where tables can be moved for group activities, that promotes more engagement, but in our theoretical classes, that's not possible. In the practical labs where we have 20-25 students, there is more chances of it. Student sense of ownership over space increases participation when they have this feeling that this is my classroom, this is my bench, this is my space, increases their participation in learning. Next, psychological environment. So whatever is the school philosophy, policies and practices, that helps build the psychological environment, a non-threatening space where emotionally safe learners are there. So when anxiety happens, it leads to cheating, that is giving wrong answers, avoidance, they stop giving answers, stop learning, they just mentally feel कि नहीं हो पाएगा, छोड़ दो, नहीं करना है. And teacher blaming happens in an emotionally unsafe environment. So what's the teacher's role? Create calm, respectful spaces and set clear expectations so that students know that this is what I need to do. Social environment, cooperation, empathy, and initiative. Initiative is leadership. Peer relationships between students develop trust, belongingness, and self-worth. So if someone is ostracized in the class or there's someone who's being bullied, it would affect their scores. Victims of bullying would not usually do not have great scores when it comes to studying. Okay, so that is because they do not feel safe in that environment, or they do not have that trust or belongingness with their peers. Outdoor activities, picnics promote courage and team spirit, team building activities. So what are the cognitive demands on teachers? So that academic task, the content delivery, skill building and curricular alignment has to be there. But when it comes to social task, the teachers have to manage the class, foster relationships between students, teacher-student relationship and student-student relationship, and facilitate group work so that students work in groups, they learn individually on their own, apart from just learning theory, and practical learning also happens. These are the social task demands on teachers. So managing class, fostering relationships and group work, facilitation. When it comes to academic, delivery of the content, curriculum aligns with the age, the speed of the learners, and skill building. At the end of the day, the learners should have their results positive, right? They should be able to learn the skills that you are teaching. And last, motivational climate. So value and effort. These are important. Rewards motivate them. Your praises, your positive feedback motivates them. Okay. And the results that they get at the end of the exam, that also motivates them. So explain the relevance of this task to real life. If you are teaching them that the solar system, then they should know why knowing solar system is important. Because if they don't know solar system, if they don't know how Earth rotates around the sun, then the entire calendar system, they would not be able to understand it. Why it has 12 months, 365 days, what's the lunar cycle, and they will not be able to understand things related to that. So that is why knowing solar system is important. Now you can't tell a first standard child about it, but then at a certain age you can tell them that why convex and concave lenses learning that is important. If you are in college, when you are teaching a topic, explain the relevance of that to the real life situations. And if it's a career based skill building, then how is it going to help them in their career? So that is the value. And recognize and reward efforts regularly to build a motivational climate. So each student has unique ability, unique background and pace. They come from different homes. They have different life stories. So if possible, customize tasks wherever possible. It's not possible every time, but wherever it is possible, where you have a smaller batch, try to customize it. Use differentiated instruction to support all learners. So provide reading material at varying difficulty levels. But then if it's a college curriculum, then of course the curriculum will be same from everyone. Okay. Next is different types of learners. I'll just do a quick recap of this. Learning environment is physical, psychological, social, and motivational. Physical is the classrooms, air quality, temperature, noise, furniture, lighting, all of this falls in physical environment. Psychological is the school philosophy, policies, practices, the emotional state, the way teachers behave with students. Social environment is cooperation, empathy, initiative between peers in the classroom. And motivational is value and effort. Whatever they are learning, how is it going to help them? And rewards for putting in efforts to learn it. What are the different kinds of learners? Now, several classifications of learners are there based on different things like personal traits, cognitive styles, learning preferences. So I've tried to include all the classifications. These classifications, only one or two of them are given by scientists. Most of them are based on understanding. Okay. So you don't need to memorize it, but just understand it. That if I had to talk about personal and social attributes, then age and maturity level, motivation and attitude of students, expectations and aspirations. Everyone has a different aspiration in school. Like all 6th standard students do not want to become the same person. They have different aspirations or goal in life. Special talents and mechanical skills. Everyone has different skills. Someone is good in something, someone is good in sports, someone is good in academics or rote learning, someone is good in application based. So everyone has different skills and everyone adapts to their environment in a different way. Some people are happy doing group activities, some people are happy doing individual activities. So these are personal and social attributes based on which different kinds of learners are there. This is one classification and it is not given by any scientist, okay? This is just to understand. Classroom-based learning styles, visual, auditory, aesthetic. Okay? Please mute yourself. Visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, which we have been talking. So visual people prefer images, diagrams, colors. They are called verbalist images. Auditory people hearing and speaking. Motor kinesthetic, they learn through movement and doing. Okay. So in classroom, these are 3 learning styles based. Nowadays, the newer curriculum which we have in school is not like just read textbooks. In schools now, they try to make students do activities. Like when my daughter learned how to write A, first they used to write in sand. So for kinesthetic learners, that was good. For visual learners, you see the picture. And for auditory learners, that YouTube video sings A, B, C, D. That's auditory. So nowadays, they try to ensure that the curriculum is comprehensive and all kinds of learners are able to learn things well. Then field independent and field dependent. So field independent are like like people who work on their own. So their learning style is more of analytical and self-reliant. Their tasks are self-paced. They like to go at their own speed, reading, writing. Field dependent, where you need to work in a group, is the learning style where you are global, you are socially aware. Group activities, discussions and collaborations happen. So some people prefer to learn on their own and some people prefer to learn in group. Okay. So these are 2 kinds of learners, field independent and field dependent. Reflectivity and impulsivity. Now, reflective people are those who take time. They think deeply, they reflect before responding. But the errors they make is less. They take time, they analyze things deeply and make lesser errors, and they are good at problem solving. Impulsive learners, they remember quickly, they respond quickly, but speed leads to lower accuracy. So there's chances of more errors. Okay, they are quick, but they may lack the depth that reflective learners have. So these are again, this is again a classification of learners. Cognitive styles, again, classroom based. In a classroom, students can learn 4 ways. This needs a bit of understanding, so please pay attention. Intuitive. You speak something and they understand it. Bas samajh aa gaya. So they just get things, they just understand it. Intuition. Learn through insight. You said something, inside they understood something. These are intuitive learners. Inductive learners. First, they see, they look at things, and then they finally understand and they go to theory. They look at facts and then they finally understand the final theory. These are inductive. Reverse, deductive. First, you need to teach them theory, that this is the theory. Then you need to give them examples. For inductive, you give examples first and then teach them that, okay, this is the moral. For deductive, first you need to teach them that this is the moral, and then you give examples. And the last style is reflective. They pause, they analyze, they introspect, they spend the time thinking over it, and then they understand it. So these are 4 cognitive styles. So all students in the class do not have the same way of learning. Some people are intuitive, they just understand it. Some people are reflective, they think, they analyze. Inductive, you give them examples and then explain the theory. Deductive, you first explain the theory and then they connect it to the examples. Okay. So these are 4 cognitive styles. Now, when it comes to listening, we have just 2 more classifications to go. Listening skills. So this is basically a classification of listening, okay? But then students have to listen. So when students are listening to you, they are listening in one of the 4 ways. Either they are actively listening. They are very attentive. They are purposeful. They know what they are doing. They are empathic. They understand your emotions, what you are trying to convey. So one is active listening. They are attentive to what you are saying. One is listening empathically. Their focus is more on the emotions that you are conveying. कि आज तो मैडम ने मस्त जोक मारा, मजा आ गया. That's their takeaway from the session. Critical listening. Whatever you are saying, they are evaluating it, analyzing it, Probably they have their questions ready, which they will ask at the end of the session. And appreciative listening. Wow, क्या lecture लिया, मजा ही आ गया. Appreciative listening. I was so happily listening to the lecture. These are the kind of 4 learners based on listening skills: active listening, empathic listening, critical listening, and appreciative listening. Okay. So when you think in your class you are teaching and everyone is actively listening, that's not happening. Not everyone is an active listener. You also have people in the other 3 categories. Okay. And I'm sure when this comes to your mind, you must be remembering examples of students that fall in all of these categories. Lastly, based on different thinking styles. Again, reflective, the word reflect is associated with deep thinking. The word affect is associated with emotion. Just remember that. Reflective, think deeply and ask why. Creative, they are playful with ideas. They are original. They try to see how we can make something new out of it. Practical people are efficient. They are real world focus. ये करना है, इतना कर लो, हो गया. And conceptual, बड़ी बड़ी बात है. Big picture oriented, theory seekers. Like Charles Darwin went to find out why the sparrows have different kinds of beaks. That way. And then, of course, reflective, because he created theories over it. So there are 4 different thinking styles, 4 different kinds of learners based on thinking styles: reflective, creative, practical, and conceptual. Okay. So these are the different kinds of learners, and knowing the meaning of all these words is very important. Memorizing the classifications is not important. Understanding what these words mean is important, because if you get this word, then your options in exam, you should know what the meaning of that word is. Okay, so that you can rule out whether the option is correct or wrong. Clear so far? Everyone? Katha jaisa ho gaya nahi? Please teach in English only, because Shanika, what I give are examples. I am not teaching theory, like you see the PPT is English, but see what I am saying is idioms and proverbs. So you cannot, or colloquial expressions, which like I cannot translate all of them into English. It would lose the charm. Okay, so please don't worry that you are missing out on anything when I speak something in a colloquial language. Okay. So let's come to the last 2 topics: adolescent learners and adult learners. So these are not very big topics, but somehow adolescent learners is one of the favorite topics. You usually have questions on this, because dealing with teenagers is one of the biggest fears of a parent, and dealing with adolescent learners is one of the biggest fears of teachers. So what's the age of adolescence? 10 to 19 years, okay? According to WHO, World Health Organization. Psychologically, when there is a shift in your understanding, in the way you think, when you are able to reflect and evaluate more, and there is a transition in personality also, that's when you are an adolescent. Adolescence. Adol is from adult, and essence is going towards. So you are not an adult, but from a child, you are going towards becoming an adult. Okay, that is adolescence. Sociologically, shift from dependency to self-sufficiency. So a 7-year child, 8-year child is still dependent on parents. Once they start turning, 12, it's said that the frontal lobes develop at the age of 12. So all of a sudden, a child who did not understand that what to speak or how to speak, or that the secrets or whatever is stopped by, I'll give you a very, very, very basic example. The mother speaks ill, the child's mother speaks ill of the mother-in-law. That's the grandmother of the child. The child goes out and says that, my mother was speaking this. Because the child does not know that these things, the backbiting, is not supposed to be spoken outside. But when they turn 12, the development of frontal lobe is complete, and all of a sudden they start understanding what to say and what not to say. They start understanding. They don't completely understand, but now if you tell them that beta, you should not say this outside, they will be able to understand it. So that shift is happening psychologically and in that personality. That is adolescence. Okay, medically, hormonal and physical development. So it's a stage of mind and behavioral maturity, not just age. Now this you need to remember. What are the 3 stages of adolescence? 10 to 12 years is early adolescence, rapid physical growth. Now this is the time where this child will slowly start demanding privacy and potential conflicts start happening. Okay, and slowly from parents being their gods, now peers start becoming their god. We'll come to that in the previous questions. Middle adolescence, their identity formation is happening. They are questioning, who am I, why am I, what is my position in this world? Decisions on education, vocation, what do I want to become? 10 standard, 16 years. Late adolescence, adult-like independence, career decisions, they return to family on new terms. Okay, so 10 to 12, 12 to 16, and 16 to 19. These are the stages of adolescence. Just to recall what we learned yesterday, sensory motor 0 to 2 years, pre-operational 2 to 7, Piaget stages, concrete operational 7 to 11. Former operational 11 to 15 years is adolescence in Piaget's classification. Logical, abstract and analytical thinking, higher order problem solving. Okay, so that is what adolescence is. What are the key characteristics? They search for self-concept, or they search for their own identity, independence and value questioning. Whatever is taught to them, whatever values are taught to them. We say honesty is the best policy, but they see that people who are dishonest are being rewarded. So they start questioning that what I was taught in my childhood based on the stories, is that actually applicable in the real world? So they start questioning that. Increased peer influence, use of social media and tech, and emotional volatility. So what are the emotional and social changes that they happen? Now we are coming to the theory portion of, okay, characteristics of adolescent learners. Emotional and social changes. So according to Bandura, self-efficacy. They start believing in their own abilities, that I can do it. So when someone comes in their teenage, they are rebellious and they think of changing the world. So when I used to read that speech given by Martin Luther King on for the blacks, for the freedom of the blacks in US, and it was taught as a part of English textbook, I used to feel that I also want to do something like this, and create a name for myself. So that happens. You start having those changes. Storm and stress, emotional turmoil happens, peer pressure, and brief and exploratory relationships. Please give me a moment. Emotional intelligence is a term coined by Daniel Goleman, who's also the author of the book Emotional Intelligence. So he says that in this age, they start appraising and expressing emotions, managing emotions, and using emotions for goal achievement. Okay. So 4 abilities of adolescents, according to Mayer and Salovey, please remember this. This needs to be memorized. Emotion perception. Like they see and they observe emotions. Emotional facilitation. Okay. Enabling those emotions to occur. Emotion understanding what those emotions are, and emotion regulation, that is controlling those emotions. These are the 4 abilities that they develop. Okay. Role confusion, identity crisis happens. They start developing moral understanding, conscience, their inner voice, it starts developing. Your spiritual inclination happens. Till now, you were doing what your parents were doing. But now, you start questioning God. You start thinking whether you trust God or not. Ambition, rebellion, and a desire for freedom. Okay? This was one of the questions asked in previous years, that who gave the multiple intelligence theory, and the answer is Howard Gardner. Okay, 4 scientists were named. The answer is Howard Gardner. So sometimes they do ask names of scientists also. So adolescence, multiple intelligence theory says that everyone has different capability. Some people are good at linguistic, some people are logical, mathematical, some people are good in spatial. Spatial is the space. Looking things in 3D, imagining things in 3D vision in your mind, like architects do. Bodily kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. Okay. So everyone has different strengths. That is what we need to remember when we are teaching adolescent learners. Academic characteristics are more school time, less parental control. They are influenced by parental engagement, intrinsic motivation, and institution or school support. Sports, arts, and crafts play a role, and cultural gap, what we call as generation gap, happens with parents. So how is it important for us? Because as a teacher, when you are teaching adolescent learner, you encourage critical thinking, promote active participation, avoid rote learning, because now they don't memorize ABCD. Now they need to understand things, they will reflect, they have higher order thinking. Provide moral and emotional support to them, because their emotions, they are undergoing emotional turmoil. And recognize and respect individual differences, because now they are in the rebellion mode and they want to be respected in the formation mode. Okay. Just show you a question. Yeah. So the most characteristic feature of an adolescent learner, which determines his, her social and moral development, is, out of the given options, which do you think is more applicable? Tendency to be away from parents, concern for hero worshipping, mixing up with peers, and identity crisis. What determines his social and moral development? So the answer is hero worshipping. Okay. And this question has been asked at least twice. Different options, the different language, but they say that the most characteristic feature of adolescent learner is hero worshipping, and that is what determines their social and moral development, because whatever heroes they have, they will follow them. Okay. They will you see, the fans of celebrities are more in the range of teenagers. You don't see 50, 60-year or 40-year-old people going crazy as fans as much as you will see teenagers doing that. Because this is the age where hero worshipping is shaping them. They emulate their role model social behavior, actions and preferences. Their own social and moral understanding is according to what their hero or whatever celebrity they are following does. Okay, so they are distant from parents, like their distance from parents or mixing up with peers or identity crisis do contribute, but compared to hero worshipping, their contribution is very less. Whatever idol they have decided that they will follow, they will completely try to emulate them. That is what it says. And this is a very important concept that needs to be talked about. And last, adult learners. Life is busy, adults are seldom easy. Okay, they are engaged in multiple life roles. So every time they come to learn, they have two questions. How will this benefit me? If this will benefit me, I'll learn. Otherwise, I won't. Is this worth the effort? Is the reward equivalent to whatever hours and effort I'm going to put? So learning has to be connected directly to their goal, needs, and life context. If I start teaching you things that have no relation to your exam, you all are going to drop off from here. And send me messages in WhatsApp asking, what are you doing? Right? That way. What is an adult learner, or rather, who is an adult learner? It is defined by age or cognitive maturity. UNESCO says it is 24 to 65 years. But in India, after the age of 15, we start considering children as kind of adults in terms of their thinking processes. They learn through formal systems, degrees, non-formal methods, workshops, and informal methods, life experiencing. Okay, this was the classification we talked about. Now, what are the unique features of adulthood? Maturity. These are no longer children or adolescents. Self-concept shifts from dependent to independent. They are completely independent. They prefer problem-centered learning, not subject-based. Theory is boring. Previous year question solving is comparatively easier. They need immediate application of knowledge. If the knowledge is not going to be used immediately, they are not going to learn it. Learn best through real life problem solving, and motivation is mostly internal. It is intrinsic. Characteristics, self-respectful. They respect their own self and also expect the teacher to respect them. Practical, autonomous, of course, they are independent, right? Relevance oriented. Whatever is taught has to be relevant to their life goals. Otherwise, it's not important. Goal oriented. They have deadlines. They work according to the deadlines and schedules. And they use their own life experience as a resource. And if you are a teacher, it's going to be one of the best resources to answer your questions in exam. Andragogy. We talked about yesterday pedagogy, andragogy, and utagogy. So andragogy is adult education, which focus on change in knowledge, skills, attitude, and behavior. So as an adult, whatever you are learning is either contributing to your knowledge or giving you a skill, or it is bringing about a change in your attitude and behavior, self-development. Okay? Otherwise, you are not going to work on it. You are no longer going to learn solar systems, unless that is applicable in your career. Malcolm Knowles is known as the father of andragogy. Please remember the name of this person, Malcolm Knowles. He says that adult learners are mature, independent, self-directed, and experienced, which is just a recap of the previous slide. Okay? Malcolm Knowles, please remember the name. What are the principles of adult learning? Now, this is not given by anyone. This is just to understand that adult learning has to have variety and stimulation. Okay? It can become monotonous and boring after some time. They need to have leadership opportunities. If you're going in a workshop and someone says, okay, who will be the leader for this? Like, divide people into groups of 4 and say who's going to be the leader for each group. They love those kind of things. Respect for learners' prior knowledge. So I'm probably discussing this here, but a lot of you would be veterans and quite more knowledgeable than me in this topics only. Okay, so when the teacher respects that the learner might know more than them, that is only when adult learning can thrive. Use of experience as a base and emotional appeal and real world relevance. Okay. Educational implications of understanding this are: treat adults as equals, not subordinates. Now, these are what makes the adult teaching effective. Treat adults as equals, not subordinates. Allow flexibility and autonomy. So that's why we are providing recordings. So in case life happens and you are missing some part, you can still go back there. Just reminds me, the recording is up. Link content to real life relevance. Like, I'm trying to share stories from real life or probably from our classroom life. Use participatory and discussion-based methods and recognize and use learners' experience. Okay, so this is a difference between the two, children learners and adult learners. Children are dependent, adults are self-directed. Children obey teachers, adults apply knowledge. Okay, they don't obey. Children are passive recipients. You teach me, I'll learn. Where adults are active. Like, you have this question, okay, how is this going to come in exam? Do I need to memorize it? A child would not have those questions. Children have limited life experience, whereas adults have a rich experience base. Children are motivated by their teachers, by those rewards, by those chocolates, and adults are self-motivated. Okay? This is one small last concept which is related to learning. I think we will take it after previous year questions because there's too much of teaching right now. We'll take that concept at last. Just a few previous year questions and we can end this session. So which of the learner characteristics will influence their perspective in a course of study? Learner's commitment, parents' interest in the learner, prior knowledge of the learner, skill of the learner, family size of the learner, and socio-economic background. One, three, and more. Anyone wants to talk of an option other than A? No, family size of the learner anyways wouldn't matter, right? Socio-economic background, a little, not as much as others. And parents' interest is again. So the answer is A, very rightly. Next, which among the following best describes emotional intelligence of learners? Understanding the emotion of other people, expressing oneself very strongly, being rational, adjusting one's emotions, being creative and open to criticism, and accepting people as they are. All of this are a part of emotional intelligence, but when we talk from a learner's perspective, is favorite today. Okay, so why A? Emotional intelligence is three things. Emotional awareness, that is what are your emotions and others' emotions. You are aware of what you are feeling. Second is, you are able to harness or leverage those emotions and apply them to thinking and problem solving. And third, ability to regulate or manage emotions. So A, D, and F are the correct answers here. Understand the emotions, adjust the emotions, and accept people as they are. Okay. Who developed the theory of multiple intelligence among these people? D, right? Howard Gardner. Let's go to the next question. Okay. The last very small concept for today. Individualized learning plans are those plans, like if you have to create plans for individual learners, how can you create them? So there are 5 ways for it. Okay. What if a question is asked on this topic? That's why I decided to include it. Question 3 answer, Howard Gardner, D. I already talked about it when we discussed multiple intelligences theory, that the name of the scientist was asked. Okay. Dalton plan is where school is children's house, no fixed timetable, classroom or interruption. Okay, so when we have those concept schools, yeah, we have class at 8:15, please wind up at 8. So that's why we have kept it at 8:15 now. Just give me 2-3 more minutes. I'm just ending the session. I relate so much. Yeah, that's why recordings are there. Okay, just give me 2 minutes and we'll end the session, please. I have already not included factors affecting teaching. Dalton plan is where there are no fixed timetables. So you have seen all those kind of concept schools where there are trees and children playing around and those kind of stuff where there are no classrooms. So all those kind of things are included here in Dalton plans. Then you have Morrison plan where there are unit assignments. Okay, but those units are designed based on individual interest of learners and teachers just play active role. Vinetka plan is where an assessment is done to see where the student is currently, and then based on that, they are learning the other levels, like the levels above their current level. Contract plan is a mix of Dalton and Winnetka plan. Like the learner has a learning contract that these are the subjects, this is the pace, and the subjects are predetermined. But like in Winnetka plan, periodic tests are done to measure progress. And the last one is project-based learning. That is, you do projects to learn. So these are 5 individualized learning plans, and that finishes learning, which is the most important concept after teaching. Okay, so we'll complete rest of the topics tomorrow. Factors affecting teaching, online MOOCs, Swayam Prabha, and evaluation systems and teaching aids. Okay, they are very small topics. So that ends our session today. Those who have the next session, please leave. We'll complete factors affecting teaching online, that is MOOCs, Swayam Prabha, teaching aids, evaluation systems and curriculum. That we'll do tomorrow. And I'll try to finish it by 8. Okay, if anyone has any questions, this is the time you can ask. Till that time, I'll just do a quick recap of slides for someone who asked it. Slides 1 to 30 was revision actually. We did recap of day 1. So that is, I think. And then we talked about Gardner-Graphics classification again. Then we started methods of teaching. Okay.